Much like Dobby the house elf after he was presented with a sock, PlayStation decided to update the PlayStation Portal with a cloud streaming beta, which is available to anyone subscribed to PlayStation Plus Premium tier, so you no longer need a PlayStation 5 console as the middleman. Okay, so the PlayStation Portal is metaphorically free, but is the cloud streaming service any good? To find out, I tested more than 10 games on the service to see how well the Portal gets on without its master. Before I talk about game performance, I wanted to talk more generally about the cloud gaming experience on Portal. If you want to skip ahead, I will put timestamps in the comments. To enable the cloud streaming beta, you'll need to update your Portal to the latest firmware. Once updated, just go to settings and toggle on the cloud streaming beta, and you're off. On the home screen, you will now have two options, one to connect to a console, and now the cloud streaming beta icon. When you launch the application, you will be greeted with a rather sizable selection of games to play. According to PlayStation Blog, there are around 120 games available right now, which is a really good start. By default, games are sorted by recently added to PlayStation Plus, but I couldn't find any way to change the sorting type at the moment, which is a bit odd. Why would you even show how the games are sorted if the user cannot change it? If you don't select a game to stream and the screen goes black due to power saving options, when you unlock the Portal, I've noticed that the screen gets stuck and you're unable to move the selection cursor. The only fix I've found to this is to restart the Portal. If you've played a game available in the cloud streaming beta before and have saved data in the cloud, then it will be available for those games while streaming too. Trophies can be earned like on PlayStation 5, however, the trophy earn notification is a generic trophy earned rather than specific trophy names. You cannot check trophy lists or the trophy you've just unlocked, but there is always the PlayStation app for these things. The Create button for either capturing screenshots or video clips cannot be used, which makes sense given that the Portal only has limited internal storage space, and most likely cannot process recording while streaming. Maybe in the future it will be possible to record screenshots and clips up to 3 minutes long, which is the maximum upload limit for the PlayStation app. For reference, my Wi-Fi internet speed is between 600 and 700 megabits per second. Cloud streaming experience may vary with better or worse internet speeds. I only tested the 1080p max resolution, but you can also set the max resolution of the Portal to 720p as well. Even from the get-go, I was impressed how quickly the Portal launched into a game, and then from then on, the Portal maintained a good quality connection. I didn't have any games disconnect, and only one occasion where the poor quality notification appeared while playing Uno. The connection quality increased back to normal within a few seconds, and then continued to be high quality for the rest of my time playing. I played Uno for between 60 to 90 minutes to test connection over an extended session. During this time, the game did stop me from playing a card, but the issue was solved by going into the Uno game settings and backing out again. Bit strange as the Portal wasn't lagging at all. One of the first games I wanted to test out was Ratchet & Clank. On PlayStation 5, Ratchet & Clank looks gorgeous, while also running with silky smooth performance. I don't know why this was such a nice surprise, but Ratchet & Clank is still stunning on the Portal and runs fine. It's impressive with everything going on screen that the image quality stays high, input delay is reasonable, and there are moments of variable input delay, but I think this is to be expected. As Ratchet & Clank on PlayStation 5 has performance settings, these can be changed while streaming too, so you can use quality, performance and performance RT modes. Having a 1080p resolution on a smaller screen like the Portal means games should look clean. Normally, I turn off motion blur for games, personal preference. However, I did find that turning motion blur on smoothed over some of the occasions when the frame rate dropped below its target, or when streaming artifacts occurred. The Portal's presentation looked more natively processed this way, if you get what I'm saying. To test graphics quality, I also played Uncharted 4, Control, The Last of Us Part 1 and Demon's Souls. All 4 games looked great. On the Portal, graphics quality is perhaps best described as PS5 quality graphics, but at 1080p. One thing I noticed during cutscenes on both Uncharted 4 Control and The Last of Us Part 1 was that the image and audio was sometimes out of sync. This became more apparent if you focus on the character's lip sync during conversations. I retested the same cutscene on Control a day later and audio sync seemed bang on, so perhaps this will vary depending on internet conditions. I then wanted to test input lag more in isolation, so I tested an additional 4 games, which were Doom Eternal, Dead by Daylight, Spider-Man Miles Morales, and Redout 2. As Spider-Man Miles Morales is such a fluid game, I thought it would be pretty obvious if the game had bad input lag. While there was definitely some perceptible input delay, I'd say it was minimal and the game was very playable. Doom Eternal was next. Even while playing the game through the phone camera while recording, I was impressed how playable this game was through streaming. It was obvious that the game wasn't as fluid as playing on PS5, but I was so impressed just how close the experience was to the console experience most of the time. On the odd occasion, controls felt a little sluggish or delayed, but it felt good to play the rest of the time. I could definitely play the game through on the Portal on the lower difficulties, but wouldn't recommend it for those masochists who play on upper difficulties. I wanted to play Dead by Daylight for 2 reasons. The first was it's an online multiplayer game that's also being streamed, so I thought it should be a great test for the cloud streaming beta. The second reason was the game's skill checks. If you're unfamiliar with Dead by Daylight, the survivors have 5 generators that need to be repaired, while being pursued by the killer. As you repair each generator, there are quick time events you must complete. These usually have a tight window or low margin of error in which you need to react to the QTE. I therefore thought it was a great visual representation of input delay. In my experience, my inputs for these QTEs registering in-game was not immediate, but was within the margin of error allowed to pass these skill checks, which I think was all you can ask for unless you've got super duper interwebs from NASA. I can only go off my own internet capabilities, and I thought the delay was excellent all things considered. The final game I played was Redout 2. I don't blame you if you haven't heard of the game, but in a nutshell it is very similar to Wipeout. So being a very fast-paced racing game with tight tracks which demands precise controls and reactions. Somehow, and I have no idea how, I managed to get a time within the top 5% on the game's first race on the Portal. So while I'd personally not choose to play this game over streaming on the Portal, I still managed to do well regardless. Just to be clear, I wouldn't choose to play this over streaming, as the input delay is just not ideal for this sort of game, even though the input delay was minimal. While the cloud streaming beta has its flaws, overall I was impressed by how fast games launched, how good they look, and generally speaking, how well they ran. Input delay could be improved, but I couldn't say if the cloud streaming beta or my internet was the bottleneck. If you're a PlayStation Plus Premium subscriber, I highly recommend checking out this new service. It adds so much extra functionality to the PlayStation Portal and makes the device a much easier sell than when it was needed to be tethered to a PS5 console. I'd love to know your experience with the cloud streaming beta, and if you've enjoyed this video, please feel free to comment, like and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.